On the lush floodplains that we now call North America, 66 million years ago, a colossal Tyrannosaurus Rex, the undisputed king of the land, stalked a solitary Triceratops near the banks of a meandering river. The predator moved with heavy footsteps, its movements dampened by the soft earth, while the Triceratops lowered its three-horned head, clawing at the soil in a display of desperate defiance. This was a confrontation that had shaped the natural order for millions of years, a primal struggle between the ultimate predator. In this moment, neither species knew that their age-old feud was about to be completely erased by a force from the stars. Before we delve into the cataclysm that rewrote the history of life, I invite you to join our journey through the mysteries of the ancient world. If you find value in these stories of survival and the harsh laws of nature, please consider subscribing to the channel to help us uncover more truths about our planet's past. The sky above these combatants suddenly transforms, as a second sun appears, growing larger and brighter until the blue firmament is bleached white. This was the arrival of an asteroid roughly 6 miles wide, traveling at 40,000 miles per hour, aiming directly for the Yucatan Peninsula. When it struck, it hit with the force of billions of atomic bombs, instantly vaporizing the crust of the Earth and launching a plume of molten rock into the upper atmosphere. The Cretaceous, Paleogene extinction event did not just begin with a bang. It began with the absolute disintegration of the existing world order. In the first few seconds of the impact, the shockwave alone flattened forests for thousands of miles, turning massive trees into toothpicks. Mega-earthquakes reaching magnitudes that our modern scales can barely measure ripped through the tectonic plates, causing the very ground to liquefy. Along the coastlines, tsunamis hundreds of feet tall raced across the oceans, swallowing entire ecosystems in a wall of churning debris and saltwater. For the dinosaurs standing on the front lines of this disaster, there was no time for fear, only the instant transition from life to nothingness. However, the story of the dinosaurs does not end with that single violent moment. While the impact was the catalyst, the actual process of extinction was a complex, grueling ordeal that stretched across time and space. There were over 1,000 species of dinosaurs living at the end of the Cretaceous period, scattered across every continent from the poles to the equator. Their sheer diversity suggests that the collapse of their world was not perfectly instantaneous for every individual or every species. Within the first 24 hours, the planet became a literal hell on Earth. As the molten debris that had been launched into space began to fall back down, it friction heated the atmosphere to staggering levels. Scientists call this the oven effect, where the air itself became so hot that it ignited dry vegetation across the globe. Vast wildfires erupted simultaneously, turning the Earth's surface into a furnace and killing countless animals that had survived the initial shockwaves. Amidst this planetary inferno, certain environments offered a fragile temporary sanctuary. Swamps, deep river valleys, and the high latitudes near the poles may have provided enough of a buffer to protect small groups of survivors. In these pockets of relative calm, small dinosaurs or perhaps the juveniles of larger species might have huddled in the shadows, confused by the orange sky and the falling ash. Their survival instincts, honed over millions of years, were now being tested by a scenario for which evolution had no answer. As the fires eventually died down, a new and even more terrifying phase began, known as the impact winter. The massive amount of dust, soot, and sulfur ejected into the atmosphere formed a global shroud that completely blocked out the sun. For years, the Earth was plunged into a cold, eerie darkness where the process of photosynthesis effectively stopped. This was the moment the foundation of the food chain crumbled, as plants withered and died without the energy of sunlight.
The asteroid impact is the definitive cause of the extinction event.
The collapse of life was a slow, agonizing domino effect that began from the ground up. The massive herbivores like the long-necked titanosaurs were the first to feel the sting of starvation as their vast feeding grounds turned to dust. These giants required hundreds of pounds of vegetation every single day just to maintain their metabolism, and in a world without sun, they were doomed. Their deaths, in turn, signaled the end for the great carnivores who had once hunted them, leaving the predators to scavenge on rotting carcasses until there was nothing left. Scientists have long debated exactly how long this period of decline lasted before the very last dinosaur took its final breath. Short-term models suggest that the majority of species vanished within just 15 years of the impact, a mere blink of an eye in geological terms. Moderate estimates extend this timeline to decades or perhaps a century, as small, isolated populations clung to life in the ruins of their former world. These theories paint a picture of a rapid collapse, where the momentum of the disaster was simply too great to overcome. However, there are more provocative theories that suggest some dinosaurs may have endured for much longer. One controversial study proposes that certain species survived for up to 33,000 years into the early Paleocene epoch. This hypothesis suggests that in specific, sheltered regions, small groups of dinosaurs managed to navigate the changing climate and the rise of new competitors. If true, it means that the first mammals to walk the post-apocalyptic Earth were still sharing the landscape with the ghosts of the dinosaur age. During this hypothetical window of survival, the world was undergoing a radical ecological shift. Mammals, which had lived in the shadows for over 150 million years, began to expand their territories and diversify. Insects flourished in the decaying vegetation, and reptiles like crocodilians, which are cold-blooded and require less food, began to dominate the waterways. The last dinosaurs would have found themselves increasingly outcompeted by these smaller, more efficient survivors who were better suited for a world of scarcity. Even more shocking is the million-year mystery, based on fossil finds in the San Juan Basin. Some researchers argue that these fossils provide evidence of dinosaurs living up to 1 million years after the asteroid impact. They suggest that through migration to safer northern regions or by surviving through dormant egg cycles, some lineages may have defied the odds for a staggering amount of time. If these claims are ever fully proven, it would mean the extinction was a slow fade rather than a sudden snap. This possibility has sparked intense scientific controversy and debate within the paleontological community. Critics of the long-term survival theory argue that these fossils were likely redeposited by ancient rivers, washed out of older rocks and settled into younger layers of Earth. They maintain that without an articulated skeleton found in situ, the idea of dinosaurs surviving for 1 million years remains a fascinating but unproven speculation. This leaves the final chapter of the dinosaurs shrouded in a layer of academic mystery that may never be fully resolved. In the face of such a crisis, we must wonder if the dinosaurs could have adapted to their new reality. In nature, we often see island dwarfism, where large animals shrink over generations to survive on limited resources. It is an intriguing thought to imagine a world where the descendants of giants became small, scrappy hunters prowling the undergrowth of a darkened world. Yet the fossil record offers no solid evidence of such an evolutionary pivot, suggesting that the dinosaurs were perhaps too specialized for their high-energy, high-growth lifestyles. The most widely accepted conclusion is that the final confirmed dinosaurs, such as the iconic Triceratops and the fierce Tyrannosaurids, likely perished very close to the moment of impact, For the apex predators and the massive grazers, there was simply no path forward in a world that had lost its light and its heat. They were the masters of a world that no longer existed, and their biological rigidity became their ultimate downfall. The fate of other prehistoric giants during this time remains equally haunting. Pterosaurs, the rulers of the sky, likely vanished almost immediately as the atmospheric changes made flight and hunting nearly impossible. In the oceans, the massive mosasaurs and plesiosaurs saw their food sources disappear as the marine food web collapsed. Interestingly, some ammonoids, the coiled shell relatives of squid, may have lingered for up to 1 million years, showing that different lineages responded to the pressure in vastly different ways. This entire saga serves as a somber reminder of the fragility of dominance in the natural world. For over 160 million years, the dinosaurs were the pinnacle of evolution, yet their reign ended in one of the most violent transitions in planetary history. Whether their final disappearance took days, years, or millennia, the asteroid ensured that the path was cleared for a new era. The transition from the age of reptiles to the age of mammals was not a peaceful passing of the torch, but a bloody, desperate struggle in the dark.
They are almost identical. The sickle claw, the scale patterns, the proportions.
The story of the dinosaurs
inheritance is
teaches us
direct
that
and
no matter how
unambiguous.
powerful or established a system may seem, it is always subject to the whims of the universe. In our own lives, we often build structures and routines that we believe are permanent, forgetting that change is the only true constant. The dinosaurs were perfectly adapted to their world, but they could not adapt to a world that changed overnight. This suggests that the ultimate survival trait is not strength or size, but the ability to remain flexible and resilient in the face of the unknown. Nature does not reward the most powerful, it rewards the most adaptable. The small, burrowing mammals that survived the impact were not the kings of the Cretaceous, but they were the ones who could endure the cold and the hunger. As we move through our own challenges, we should ask ourselves, are we clinging to horns and armor that no longer serve us, or are we finding new ways to thrive in a changing landscape? What do you think was the most critical factor that allowed some creatures to survive while the giants fell? Do you believe there could still be undiscovered evidence of dinosaurs living far into the age of mammals? Please share your thoughts in the comments below, as your perspectives help us all understand our history more deeply. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the end of an era, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story from the dawn of time. Thank you for watching.